Well, we want to take a closer look at the Atlanta mayoral election. We've been talking about it for weeks now, right?
Yeah, and we're joined tonight by our political experts, Louis Guri and Theron Johnson, CEO of Paramount Consulting. Guys, we are going into a pretty historic mayoral election tonight. The incumbent mayor has stepped down. You have one candidate, the city council president, with a lot of political heft to come from behind candidate Theron. Where do you see things stacking up right now?
Well, right now it's all about turnout, and what I'm hearing, some early numbers show that Buckhead is turning out, but also south side of Atlanta is turning out as well. So I predict that this is going to come down to the Atlanta, DeKalb portion of the city of Atlanta, and also a lot of our in-town neighborhoods, particularly in downtown and midtown. But ultimately, I think candidates are going to encourage voters to go out until 8 p.m. tonight to make sure that everyone gets out to vote.
Lori, do you foresee, if the voter turnout is, I was looking at some numbers and it looks like it is down since the November, compared to the November election. So who do you see, if voter turnout is a successful thing, who would it benefit more? Do you think it would be Felicia Moore or Andre Dickens?
I think that's the million-dollar question right now. And I think the big story tonight will be the turnout or lack thereof. I think if you looked at the numbers according to GeorgiaVotes.com, their early vote is down about 25% compared to the general election, and that's a really big amount. I think though Felicia Moore's base, it was all about crime and it was the Buckhead movement. I think a lot of her supporters will be turning out. I think they had reason to turn out, but also Andre Dickens ran on this visionary platform, and he had a lot of momentum going into the general election, which bumped him into the runoff and bumped Kasim Reed out. So will that momentum continue into tonight? We'll have to see.
Yeah, coming out of the general election, you had Felicia Moore pulling 41% of the vote, Andre Dickens coming in second place. The question is, who picks up the rest of those votes from Kasim Reed, who endorsed Dickens, and Sharon Gay, and Dickens getting other high-profile endorsements, including our current mayor. Who gets the sweep of the rest of those votes? How does that play out tonight, Theron?
Well, this is your number one goal in the runoff, and that is to build upon your base and to create a new coalition of voters. And if you look at what Andre's been doing, Tom, is that he's been doing exactly that. He's got the current mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, to endorse him, former mayor Shirley Franklin, but also a host of city council members who endorsed him. And so he's really trying to build upon the momentum, not only with his campaign, but also with the fundraising. But if you're Felicia Moore, listen, you go into this as a person who a lot of folks have counted out throughout her whole entire career. She's a fighter, and she has the shortest amount of people to actually get to vote for her to try to get victory. But ultimately, I think that both candidates have done a lot of outreach. They've talked to the voters about public safety, affordability, homelessness, and jobs in the city. But ultimately, what it's really going to come down to is their their ability to bring out new voters, and how did they spend their money the last few days.
Yeah, I have a feeling, or let's just say there's going to be maybe a few hundred votes separating these two candidates. What do you think is maybe, Lori, would be the edge that the candidate who wins this get? Was it from the strong endorsements that they got? Is it from, we understand, money raised from Andre Dickens these last few weeks were higher than Felicia Moore's?
I think, it's all about your turnout and your base. And I think a lot of folks, too, that I've heard from said, you know what, we just wanted, to make sure Kasim Reed did not make it into the runoff. So we're good with either of these candidates. So in that sense, I think a lot of people are also staying home saying, you know what, we win either way. But I also think, if your candidate didn't get in, are you motivated to come back to the polls after Thanksgiving, right? After all of 2 Senate races, after a presidential election? I mean, it's clear that voters are tired and they're exhausted. So we'll just have to see. I think it's way too close and turnout is way too low for any of these polls to really tell us anything.
And real quick, Theron, before we let you go, one of the elephants in the room is Buckhead and this movement to make it its own city. The next mayor will have to deal with that. Is that on the minds of Buckhead voters as we go into tonight?
It is, and I think that it's been on the minds of Buckhead voters for a while, but ultimately I think you've heard from both mayoral candidates that basically acknowledge that there are some challenges in Buckhead, but also they want to make sure that voters understand that they are going to be focused on the entire city, not just Buckhead. So ultimately, that is going to be the number one challenge for the new mayor when he or she comes in, to make sure that they focus on the issues that are happening in Buckhead, but make sure that other parts of the city feel that they're getting that same attention as well.
Yeah, whoever wins tonight is really taking taking on quite a task
Yeah.
with this city,
Sure.
with crime, Buckhead. You've got a weary police department. You need more officers. A lot to tackle, whoever wins tonight. Theron Johnson, Lori Geary, thanks so much. We'll check in with you when the polls close for sure.
Yeah, guys, thanks.